You're listening to Taboo Transmission, unfiltered conversations on grief, awakening, and shadow work. I'm your host, Holly Faye. I don't have the answers, but I've lived the questions. Every episode, I share raw stories, unspoken truths, and the messy middle of rebuilding a life that actually fits. This isn't performative healing, it's transmission. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Taboo Transmission podcast. I'm your host, Holly Faye. Hi. So this is actually my second attempt at recording this episode. I recorded what I thought would be episode number 6 earlier in this week, and maybe I'll use some of that, but honestly, it was a bit messy. I might use some of it, but really I was just sitting like high on my floor and unraveling. But today I have a lot more clarity on a lot of things that were very unclear leading up until this point. So this week was my birthday. My birthday was this past Wednesday. Today is Friday, January 30th at the time of recording this. And yeah, I honestly was having like a crisis around my birthday. Like I wasn't ready for it. Like it felt super serious, honestly. And what I started doing a few years ago was I started setting intentions on my birthday and like pretty much like putting like one word as like a theme of the year on my cake and like doing like kind of like a ritual. Like instead of making a wish, it was like I kind of treated my birthday like New Year's. Like this is where I'm going this year. This is the direction, the overarching theme of the year. And this stemmed from a place of desperation originally. So the first time I did it, it was because I was like severely depressed, honestly, and I just like I needed a comeback. And like I was trying all the regular things like therapy and, just all the normal stuff to feel better, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark. So I decided to try the like I don't know, witchy woo-woo stuff. I'm like, whatever. I saw other people doing this like on Instagram, I think, of like just setting like an intention theme for the year, and I thought, why not? Let me give it a try. Give it a shot, try. That was both of those words combined. And because of like where I was at that time, like the first time I did this was 2024, and the themed word of the year was transcend. I think I've talked about this a little bit maybe in prior episodes. I really should probably watch or listen to my episodes so I know what I talk about, but to be honest, it's far too cringe for me at this stage to listen to myself. So my apologies if I'm repetitive, but yeah, I set the intention that year to transcend, and really what I meant by that was just like overcome the circumstances and all the heaviness and everything that was just like weighing me down. And at the time that I set that intention, I didn't have any expectations. I don't know. I hoped it would do something, but I didn't really fully believe that it would. I was quite shocked to find that it worked incredibly well. And so that's why I decided to do it again last year in 2025. Sorry, Mickey's trying to get comfortable. Nugs, you gotta pick a spot. Gotta lay down. Mickey is my dog. He's in my lap, and he's a pug, and he makes a bunch of mouth noises and breathing noises, and he's very nasally. I'm pretty sure that my mic is noise canceling. It is, and I think that setting is turned on, but again, my apologies if I'm wrong about that. And if you hear weird mouth noises, just know it's me. Anyway, yeah, so 2025, it was like, okay, that was really powerful. Let me do it again. But honestly, I was nervous. I was definitely nervous to set intentions last year. So like I definitely played it safe from like, I played it safe, and yet it still worked. But so the first year, Transcend, that was probably my most transcendental year, I would say. But it didn't start off with it being like, it didn't feel nice. It actually, like, a lot of things collapsed first. They needed to, but like, yeah, like that year was kind of jarring. Like my entire life changed, which is literally the intention I set. And so last year I was like, okay, well, that clearly was very powerful and it worked, but I tried to pick a word that like I couldn't see a downside to. So my word that I picked last year was create because I couldn't see how like that could be bad. I mean, like transcend, like it is to overcome. So like you're overcoming something, and like I thought I was just overcoming what I was in, but no, I was about to overcome a lot more. So create felt like there couldn't be a bad side to it, and I just needed something like I don't know. I was aiming for a little bit neutral, and but even still, last year was the year that like my creativity came out in ways that had been long forgotten and abandoned, and like I started like tapping back into stuff that I hadn't touched since I was a kid. And so like that was really powerful too. I started drawing again. I wrote the most I've written on the book that I'm writing. Like I'm working on writing a novel, and I made real strides on that this past year. And yeah, like got back into drawing. I hadn't drawn in my sketch pad for 13 years. Like the last like when I opened it up, the last drawing that was there, I had done like 12 years ago. And so yeah, that was interesting. Like it's like I forgot a piece of myself back then when I actually had the gigantic fight and falling out with my twin flame, and like it's weird that like looking back, it's like I did lose a piece of myself, but I found it this past year. So that was powerful too. Like I created so many things. A lot of creativity was found. And like granted, it was this past year was a 12th house year. I know I've mentioned that before. And a 12th house profection year is like every year is kind of has like an overarching theme like in astrology, and like the 12th house year is like a very big like shedding year. It's the end of a cycle. So similarly to how we were in a 9 year like with the snake, well, we're still technically in it because the real new year hasn't started until spring. But yeah, so like heavy shedding themes were going on. So my creativity, I would say, actually was more of a means of like dealing with that. Like I ended up going to drawing when I didn't know what else to do with myself. Like I didn't know how I was like what I was actually thinking and feeling. It just felt like a lot. And so like writing wasn't super helpful because I didn't know how to articulate what was going on inside of me. So I'm like, I need something to do with my hands. I was also trying not to smoke, which I'm still failing at that a bit, one thing at a time. But yeah, so I kind of found drawing out of like it was like it became like a self like regulating thing for me. But then towards the end of the year, I had people telling me how much they really liked my work and like were wanting to like maybe like asking if I commissioned art pieces and stuff like that. Like stuff that I had never even considered. Like I didn't even think what I was drawing was really necessarily even that good. It was just like I'm just doing this because I don't know what to do with my hands and my feelings. So, but that was really cool to see how like to see that my art mattered to somebody else other than me because it felt like very personal to me at the time. So it's like no one's going to even get this or care. And because I wasn't making it for that reason. Yeah. And then I started going into like should I start doing commissions and should I like monetize this because I also quit my job. So I'm still unemployed. And I was considering like should I start getting paid for my art? And I was nervous. Like I've been thinking about this a lot, and like it feels a little risky. I actually do have a good plan with it now that I feel comfortable with, but this past week I've been really like, okay, what are you doing with your life? Where are we going? And I felt so unsure about everything. One of the things was like, how am I gonna make money? And I thought about monetizing my art, but then I was nervous because I'm like, well, this is also just like what I did to like feel okay. And it made me nervous to like, do I want to make money from the thing that I'm doing just to like feel all right. Like, I don't know. I didn't want to put like pressure on it since it was happening from pressure in other areas. So anyway, story short, pretty much that was what I set for last year was create, and it came, and I did create a lot. And this year though, I had such a hard time with like what with setting intentions for this year. I just had such a hard time with it. Like I didn't know what exactly where to go, but it felt like this year felt more serious. Like my birthday felt like, okay, because like the last couple years it was like undoing. It was an undoing. It was like the first year was like rapid change, like so much changed. Then this past year, it was my 12th house year. So it was shedding my subconscious patterns and behaviors and like the things that I don't really like not super in my awareness, you know? It's like like the habitual way I operate. And having all of that stuff come up, and honestly the way that it came up the most was in relationship. I said that in the last episode, but for sure there was like a lot of, and it's not that like things were bad or anything, it was just like there were things or situations that came up where I was kind of forced to confront myself and the parts of me that I didn't know super well. Wasn't very well acquainted with all of the me's of the past, but I met them each one by one. And yeah, but the thing I was not expecting at all was like this past week, I felt so lost, like the most lost out of the year. And it was like, I felt like I should like know where I was going. It felt like it was like this year is like the first step like in a new direction, in like if it's a new cycle, because the 12th house is the last house in the zodiac wheel, and it's the last, profection year before a new cycle begins. And now with this one being a first house year, I kept putting the emphasis on like, okay, well now who the fuck do you want to be? And that was so hard to get to because honestly, like it felt like I was just staring at like a blank canvas. Like it feels like a fresh start and like a blank slate, and I just didn't know how to put a label on that. Like how do I define that? But then I didn't want to also waste the opportunity. I'm like, well, if this works so well, because I have like 2 years of proof of like this ritual or manifestation, whatever this is, really doing something. So I was like, well, I don't want to miss the mark if it's like a fresh start. Like, let's really get serious. Like, we're okay. Where are we going? Possibilities are endless. But that felt too hard to define. But I've settled on my words, I should say, and kind of just not putting a whole lot of pressure on it. What's on my cake right now is new chapter, because that felt the truest thing. It really did. It felt that it is a new chapter in many ways. It's a new chapter of like me and my identity after shedding all the things I am not. And I know all the things I am not, but I don't necessarily know who and what I am like at this point. I do kind of, but like it felt too new and fresh to define. So I think just going into it with a new chapter makes the most sense, because the other thing I was considering was like published, because like one big goal I have for this year is to finish the first draft of my book. And my goal for that is actually to finish it by like July. So I'm going to be cranking away on that. But not only that, so like new chapter felt like a nod to like finishing my novel instead of published, because published is actually out of my control if I go traditional anyway, because I might not be published for years. It depends on their timeline if I'm doing that, if I'm going that route. And I haven't fully decided which route I want to go. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, but it does feel like a new chapter for my relationship, my work, my identity, my home. And those are totally the themes that are definitely like coming to the forefront. I did something interesting this morning that I have never done before, but I was listening to a podcast. The podcast is actually Astrology with Alice. I'll link it in the show notes, but she was talking about pulling like your solar return chart. And I was like, oh, how timely. I literally just like my solar return was Wednesday. Let's do it. And so I did that. I pulled it up and like I have this AI tool called the Mirror, which is an astrologer and human design like expert that translates charts. Like my friend and business mentor, Kesley Hall, created this thing, and I've been using it for almost a year, probably like half a year I've been using it. And it's just so helpful for like interpreting your chart. You just give it like your placements and and then whatever question you have, and it will give you the whole thing. And so I did that with the solar return chart. I had it like, I gave it like my natal chart positions, and then I pulled up the solar chart and gave it those. And I was like, can you kind of just like give me a summary of like, or interpretation of what this next year is going to kind of look like based on these placements? And astrology is so spooky sometimes. Like it's so spot on with what I had come to out of this past week of like first losing my marbles and losing all the things that like my direction and identity and all the things. It felt like I just felt lost. And then like, but I've been working it out with the mirror actually. And I had finally come to like something that felt true. It felt real. It made the most sense. I felt okay now, like with what I was burning down because in my last week of my 12th house year, I realized that the last thing to shed was the thing that I was actively building. Like, I did not expect to burn down the thing I was building, but I had to. Like, I almost finished my entire, like, the first module in this business program that I'm in called Architected, and, like, the first whole thing was, like, on branding. And I almost finished all of that. And then by the end of like, I had like 2 little sections left. But like, I closed my laptop last Friday. And after I like had my core message and like all the things like about my brand, I looked at it and I was like, is that even true? And then I freaked out and I was like, okay, like you're not allowed to touch your computer for the rest of the weekend, not while you feel like this, not while you're in the mindset to just burn everything down, because you need to chill out for a sec. So I didn't let myself touch it like all weekend, but like the feeling did not go away. It stayed and persisted. And it felt so destabilizing. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, just, I don't know. I guess taking like, it's your birthday and you can cry if you want to, like to a whole another level. Cause I woke up like sad. Like, I'm like, why don't I feel powerful and badass? Like I thought I was going to. Like I thought like as soon as like the date on the calendar changed, like, okay, we are stepping into first house year, let's go. And it was just like, who am I? Yeah, but this past year was an excavation year. So like there was so many things from my past that kept flaring up in front of my face. At points I was feeling guilty for like not moving on or like letting go of the past. Like the past felt like it was chilling right next to me for a good chunk of this year. It's like can see my future, can't see my past, and here's me. But it was necessary. It was necessary. And this past year really forced me to confront the parts of myself that I rejected and the parts of my late twin flame that I rejected, because they are the same. They are the same parts. Yeah. And it came up, I mentioned before, like it came up like in relationships and like in relationship with my significant other, mostly because I found myself sitting in almost the same kind of situation as I'd been in the past, but I was in a different spot. I was like the one that had so many feelings, so many that I didn't get. I didn't even understand them. I was just like I feel everything all at once and I don't know how to talk about it. And I kept trying to, and the first few tries were not the right ones. Like I'd make it worse and then make it better. It was a fun little dance. I had like, it's because I had to, it kept persisting until I sat with the fact of like, this is you, like, and it's okay. Like I had to claim things about me that I didn't want to. I didn't want to claim being sensitive. I thought that was weak. It's like, ugh, no, I'm not sensitive. I'm fine. I'm like, and I had to wrestle with the fact of like being pretty much kind of stoic most of my life. Like people used to joke about me not having feelings often and being not affectionate and like just being a fucking brick wall, basically. And then this year it was a fucking loss of identity to be like, I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not, how come I can't just like compartmentalize and put all these in this box and tuck them away neatly like I've always done? Like, why isn't that working? But it wouldn't work because that's the kind of shit that will make you fucking kill yourself down the road, Hall. That's why. Because that's the stuff that destroys you by not claiming them, by not like I'm basically saying like this part of me over here, I hate it. And like that's not healthy and that's not good. And it was true. Like I didn't like it, but I had to make my peace with it. And I think I have. I've accepted it. I've accepted the fact that yes, I am sensitive to energy, to shifts in energy, but that's also what makes my perception really strong. Like it makes like I'm very intuitive and like there's like intuition, but then there's also like, okay, that you can sense the shifts in energy and like if I'm not taking the time to take care of me and make sure that like I reset from that or like have some decompressed time or be alone after being in stimulating environments, that one's huge because I think also ADHD. But if I don't do that, if I ignore those inner signals, that feeling of like I need to go do that, and if I try to override that, which I tried many many times over the past year, it's gonna come out different. It's gonna come out anyway, and it's gonna come out probably a lot messier. And it did, until I learned like, okay, sometimes you do need just to take a minute because you do need to just like get like I do. I hated that about me for the longest time, that I was someone that needed to be like to have alone time or like decompress time or like that it couldn't just be on all the time. I didn't like that. I felt like I'm like, well, it's super inconvenient for other people. And like, yeah, but like also if I'm just not so wishy-washy and like if I'm like solid in like what I need, and if I know that and I can communicate that to someone else, it's not a big deal. It's when I don't know that and I try to fight that and I try to like just go with the flow anyway and do the thing that's like opposite of what I'm feeling inside and pretend everything's fine. That's when it's not going to be pretty. So, new chapter feels right. And I haven't done the ritual yet, even though it's my birthday was Wednesday, and I had all kinds of thoughts about that too. So I was like, oh, I didn't do what I always do, and then like the next day I'm like, well, it's not my birthday anymore. I missed it. It's too late. But then like, so I just like woke up, I think yesterday morning feeling kind of sad, but like bless my boyfriend's soul because he woke up thinking about my concerns too, and he woke up and sent me 3 different cake places and told me to choose one, and he would get the cake on his way home from work. And just like, I don't know, that meant the world to me. Honestly, the fact that he cares as much about the stuff I care about because I care about it, even like, and it's like half the time irrational. I know that one was. Like, I was sad because I didn't do like a birthday wish on my cake and like this ritual thing. Like, I don't know. It was like a standard I was measuring myself to. Like, these were rules that I put in place. No one else did. Like, I was like breaking my own rules and mad about it. And like he understood that I needed to do it. Like, and helped me get there. And I just have to gush about him often, I think. And I sometimes feel bad when I do that because I feel like bad for like not everyone has this, but I think everyone certainly can. The last 2 years I had to do like deep inner work. The first half of like 2024 it was like by myself. The second half I met him and like we were together and like I was still still doing it. And then this last year it was when, oh, here's all your little like insecure patterns that you weren't really super aware of. Now those are coming up and I had to address them because I knew like if I want different, then I have to do different. And I definitely wanted this to be different. And it is. Like, it's actually not like any relationship I've ever been in. Like, this is the most healthy, and like, I'm just always blown away by it. And sometimes I'm like, I probably really shouldn't be so surprised by like his kindness at times. I'm like, maybe people are just like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, wow, what is wrong with me that I'm just like surprised and shocked by this when maybe it's like something that like decent humans would just do. Not all of them can do it well, I tell you that. And yeah, I had to do the inner work in order to be in the place that I needed to be in order to make this love possible. Like, if I hadn't gone down those difficult paths to like looking at the stuff that I did, that I like, most of it was like stuff, memories I never wanted to revisit again. I tucked those deep, but they all came back out. And like, but in having to look at them, it forced me to see how I acted, and it forced me to ask the questions of why. Why did I behave that way? Why did I say that? Why did I do that? And like, a lot of the time it was just realizing like, wow, that was what you did out of like self-protection, or what you did to like help someone. Like, maybe it can't, like, some of it wasn't even worth hating myself over. Like, once I got to the end of it, it was like, oh wow, you did that actually out of concern and care and love. The outcome sucked, but like, the place that you did it from was actually a good intention. And like, some of the things that I thought were my biggest regrets, I looked back at them and realized the place that they were coming from, and like, knowing like I was young and like I did the best that I could at the time, and kind of realizing like, oh, actually, if I had to go back again, I think I would do it again. And that was helpful though, to like be more compassionate towards myself. It's like, you're really not a monster. You just sometimes are a bit reactive. And like, you don't know what you don't know till you know. But yeah, so that's why this year does feel like a fresh start, a new chapter, and like a new chapter with my relationship. Because not that like, I mean, I guess the whole past 2 years have been new too, but like, also at the time that my boyfriend and I met, like, I was still in part falling apart. Like, I had done a lot of work and gotten to a place where I guess the universe was like, right, it's okay. You can meet and you can be in bliss for a minute, for a while. And then this year it was like, okay, we have to address the things that you didn't do. And so did. And and we're better for it. So sometimes, like, I don't know. I've been someone who like avoids conflict at all costs, but sometimes the conflict is necessary, and not all confrontation is bad. That's something that my boyfriend says, actually. And it's true. Sometimes you do need to confront things and address them, and not just sweep every single thing under the carpet or the bed and pretend it's not there, and like, just don't look. It will come out. It will. Promise. But yeah, this time it really does feel like a new chapter for us, like, with us, like, more of a focus on like the present and like the future, with not so much the past. But I do think this past year was not, like, the past coming back up was necessary, because it was like the only way to really learn from it was like having it flare up, and a lot of things to cry about, honestly, that I had never cried about. And there's healing in that too. So this year, going forward, I am going to really try to let go of all of the rigid things that I like, the boxes I seem to put myself into. Yeah, so this last week, I was, I literally was almost done with my branding. I was almost done with my first offer. I was in like the testing phase of it. Like, I was in like I had like friends and family helping me to do like the trial run of the offer that I was going to launch and like start selling. And then I started to feel like none of it was true, and I was questioning everything. And I ended up realizing that I was actually building the thing that I had just run away from. What I was building it actually felt very corporate. And I had just ran away from corporate, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like a different thing. Like I was gonna do like chart readings, and then like I've been building this planner that's like aligned with like my astrology, like birth chart and everything, and like with the seasons, and like I was gonna start selling those and like building like custom studios for people, and like it was a lot of like one-on-one intensive like custom work. And it's not to say that I don't like those things or wouldn't like them, but they were not the main thing. And what I was realizing was like, oh, doing these like intensive, like custom builds, this is going to take a lot of time away from writing, from like making art, or like from my creativity. I mean, like there's to a point, there's room for some of it like in the design of the planner builds, but like my heart and soul is my novel. And I don't know, I got so honest with myself, like, and maybe this is like intense or extreme, but like I literally asked myself, like, out of all the things I'm doing, what do I actually care about? Like, if I died tomorrow, and this wasn't done, how would I feel? Like, I asked myself, like, if I died tomorrow and I didn't write my book, how would I feel? And like the answer was that I would have super unfinished business. I would be back here haunting the crap out of the earth and trying to find someone to finish it. So, yeah, and then I was like, well, if I had written it and it was like published and then I died like the next day after it got published, I'd be okay. So like that was very like telling. Like, okay, this is clearly the body of work that you give the most fucks about. So it needs to be top of the list. But then I was spiraling because like you don't make money right away from writing a novel. Like that takes a while to write and to like get published and like do all those things. So I was like, oh my God. So then I'm trying to like monetize the thing that I do to like make myself feel okay. And that didn't feel right either. And then I'm trying to like do chart, like set this up super fast so that I can get some money coming in. And it just was being built from the wrong place. It was being built from scarcity. It was being built from like I have to do something in order to replace my job. I have to be responsible. I have to do this. It was so Capricorn 12th house heavy. It was what I was making, and that had to go because really like after I like worked through all of this with the mirror, yeah, it's like I'm someone who is like supposed to like write. I want to write books. I want to get published. I would love to turn this novel like into like a trilogy series. Like I can really totally see that happening. I would like to do like a comic adaptation of it, and like I want to collaborate with musicians and build like a creative media house. Like the stuff that I want to do is it's very much about creating intellectual property. It has nothing to do with selling. Like it's not service based. And I realized I was creating a service based business, but I don't think that that's necessarily how I'm meant to serve. I think I'm meant to serve through my art. And so I'm gonna go get a part-time job, and that's not failing. It's like I had to take time to figure out like, okay, what's the path I really truly want that's really real and not for anyone, like no one else's expectations, like what's true for me. And it's that I do very much want to do these more creative things. And so I need like a job that's like not super stimulating, like kind of boring on purpose. Like I need a job that's kind of boring on purpose because that is going to give space for the stuff I really want to do, but also like provide some safety by being able to pay my rent and like not getting like evicted because that would be not good. And like, yeah, I was having a hard time like even being able to focus on my art because I felt so like, oh my God, what am I going to do to make money? And I really wanted it to be like my own thing, but I had to soften my expectations on that a bit. It's not that I'm not going to make money from my own thing. I think I will. Well, I know I will. But this is this is like the bridge in between here and there. And I am actually okay with it now. There was some part of me that was like, oh, if I go and just get a job and like don't like build like if I don't build a business, then I'm like then I like failed myself or something. But I was going about building a business in a way that wasn't coming from the right place. And so it wouldn't have it wouldn't have made it, because it was gonna force me into like claiming an identity that I don't really feel like. Yes, I'm super into astrology and I love building things. I love Notion. I love all that. Don't get me wrong. But like what I was doing was positioning myself to be like the expert in those, and so it felt like I was gonna have to step into an identity that I didn't have the capacity to have, because I'm like, when I boiled it down, I was just like, wow, I just like don't feel like a business owner though. Like I'm an artist. And that was the first time I ever actually like said that out loud, typed it. Like I've never claimed that at all. It's actually funny. The very first medium appointment that I went to, the medium was like, because I went with my friend too. So like we weren't sure who was communicating for who, but the medium was like, so who's the artist? And I like look around like, and I'm just like, he was. Like, it's not me. It's not her. Like what? But no, that's not, yeah, no, it is me. It is me too anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna claim that. And it's kind of crazy how it's all coming around like full circle, because like when I was on a business call like meeting back in like 2021, like my team like leader, she was like, what if this business like went away tomorrow? Like what would you do? And at first, honestly, the question annoyed me because I was like, why are you trying to get me to think about other stuff other than this? But I was literally obsessed with it. And so like in hindsight, she was being helpful and I was being argumentative. So, but yeah, like when I did sit with that question, like the thing I came up with was like I wanted to start a media company with my brother. And like that's come back up around like this past year, and like I do want to do that. And I even said last week that like I want to do that, but I said I wasn't going to force anything towards doing that. Like I'm not going to like, I don't know, I didn't feel like I needed to do anything towards it at this stage right now. But I said like, but I just feel like it will happen. Now like I reread like my whole interpretation and my like solar return chart, and it's like, yeah, that's like inevitable. It's like it's in there. Like my chart screams to do that. And so I don't know, it's interesting. That a question that someone asked me that was like, at the time I was just like, ugh, I didn't want to even think about doing anything other than what I was doing because I was like so obsessed with it. But this is way more me. And like this is way just, I don't know. It just feels right. And me making like a protective block of time like for working on writing and drawing and art and stuff like that, like that will help. Like it's gonna like I have to make my own stuff first before it turns into anything. So it's like this is the year where we lay the foundation and we start. It's the new chapter of what the next cycle is gonna look like. And also a lot of things that I've been kicking around, like, because like me and my boyfriend have been talking about like moving in together and like moving in general, because it's like gonna be -15 tonight. I can't do this anymore. We're not built for this cold. And my soul, like the solar return chart is so like aligned with all the things that we've been talking about, with the things I've been feeling. Like, yeah, like my fourth house has got an overload of activity going on in there. And the fourth house represents your home and family and like your foundation and your roots. And like, yeah. And every time I pulled cards for the past like month, I've had some card in all my readings that's pointing to travel or adventure, moving in some way. Like, and it's literally written in this solar return chart. I got to pull up his. I'm curious about that. But yeah. So I'm going to do my birthday intention ritual probably tonight. If not tonight, then this weekend. because I want to do it with him because he's definitely part of my new chapter. Like, this chapter starts with us and ends with us too. We stay. We're solid. It took me a long time to get to that too. To not freak out over every little hint of like, oh my God, don't like, yeah, if any little hint of like separation or something, I would spiral. But I'm done with that. Like, wow, took a while to get here, but I fully trust that like, just because we have a disagreement doesn't mean he's gonna leave me. And like, just because we have a disagreement or something doesn't mean the end. Because we both care enough to work on figuring out how to communicate, even if the first couple tries aren't it. And that's huge. And I don't know that I've ever had that feeling of like really trusting it. I've dated people that I knew were not going to leave me, but that wasn't necessarily a good thing. Like, they should have. Like, I think, yeah, like I'd stayed in places where I knew I wouldn't be rejected, but sadly, like, they should have. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just different. It's different actually fully like trusting and not freaking out. Like, it's nice. I'm gonna freak out about other stuff because my subconscious be active, but like, we're good, we're solid, we will work on it. And like, some fights are necessary. Some fights teach you stuff. That's just the fact. And like, we're stronger and better for it. I'm stronger and better for it. And yeah, I'm really excited to go on to this new year. Like, I'm excited to actually start really building something that is true to me all the way. And it wasn't what I thought I was gonna do, because like, even that burned down at the last second. But I always be keeping it spicy for myself, keeping myself on my toes, I guess. Think that was everything. I actually, for the first time ever, had like little bullet point notes so I wouldn't forget to say stuff. Look at me getting my shit together. All right, I think that's everything. I do have big plans for the podcast too. That is definitely part of my yearly plan. I'm gonna work on creating some different types of episodes too. So there'll be more to come on the podcast, but I'll introduce that in a different time when I'm actually like knowing what to say about that. I didn't put that in my notes. We don't know yet. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me ramble. Big plans for the podcast and for this next year, and I'm excited, and I hope that yours is going well so far. And if it's not, just remember, we are still, if you're in the northern hemisphere anyway, we are still in the dead of winter. And if you don't feel like you are shiny and new, it's because the new year hasn't really happened. So give yourself a little grace if you're beating yourself up for not sticking to New Year's resolutions or any of that stuff. If you've missed the gym because it's -15 and you want to hide in a blanket, I'm okay with that. Not that my authority means a whole lot, but like, just so you know, you don't need to feel bad about that in front of me, because same. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, and until next time, bye.